Welcome to Smoke Test. My name is Brandon. If you haven't been here before, let me introduce you. It's easy to find videos online of everybody lying about what they're building with AI and hardware. There's a lot of people talking about things they did in a weekend, things they did in a day, and making it sound like, oh man, it's so easy, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it, but they can't do it with AI in a day. And so here at Smoke Test, what we do is we review models and we present to you the ways in which they succeed or fail. Now, mind you, nothing's perfect. We understand that. But this is a little dose of reality to give you the best picture of what exists today in a sea of what feels like nothing's real and everything's hype. I've been an engineer for 15 years. I know a little something about hardware. Today, we're reviewing ChatGPT 5.5. Now, we'll go through three sections: part selection, where to buy, and build instructions. How well does it choose parts? How well does it give me a place to go buy those parts? How well does it give me an instruction set so that I can go build it, assuming I know nothing? With that, let's jump into part selection. I'm just going to give you the good and the bad, and then we'll roll through these. The good part about part selection with ChatGPT 5.5 is that it asks a lot of questions, and all of them are relevant, but it asks more than any other model. That's a really good thing. If I input an idea and I say, hey, I want to build this thing, you can't get to a reasonable output if you don't ask any questions. And we've seen other models not do a good job of that. In addition to that, once it chooses those parts, it gives you some options to give the user the ability to pick your own adventure. Those options are balanced on features and prices. If you need a little more oomph behind your processor, it's going to give you that option. If you're more geared toward, I need to be super cost efficient with this project, I just need the bare minimum, it's going to give you an option for that as well. It gives you this kind of menu, if you will, and then it lets you say, let's go down this path. The bad part, though, with parts selection specifically, is that it mismatched parts sometimes. And what I mean by that is compatibility. So engineers spend a lot of time making sure that these two things that are made by two different manufacturers and are sold by two separate retailers, that those things work together. When it comes to AI models, they don't care. As a specific example, it picked a next generation solid state drive. It's like buying fiber internet and then having a really old modem that can't handle the speed. It's like, you spent all this money, you need to make sure that the thing that you've bought to go alongside of it is in line with it. It does a poor job at that. In addition, in the middle, it changes parts. And it doesn't tell you, it doesn't alert you, it doesn't flag you, it does nothing. It just switches those parts out. At the end of the day, I've spent time going through and making sure that this works with this and that works with that. I can create a ton of problems downstream that I won't know until I go buy everything, and then I get it in and I put it together, and maybe it works or it doesn't work. So it creates a lot of distrust, because if it's doing that on a USB microphone, is it doing it on another component that I absolutely positively have to have? And so it creates this distrust with what it's choosing because it's switching things in and out. There's no sugarcoating it. That's bad, but it's not really surprising. These models do this somewhat regularly. With software, iterating is almost free. Electricity, maybe you're paying a monthly price. With hardware, I've got to buy it. I've got to pay shipping. I've got to spend time waiting for it to get to the house. There's a real cost, both in time and money, that exists for hardware that doesn't really exist for software. And so it does a bad job at that. In terms of where to buy, tell me what I should build it with and where I should go buy it from. The links actually works. It gives you the links for all the components. ChatGPT does a good job of also giving you options. When it comes to purchasing hardware, weird things happen. Shipping prices can be vastly different from one supplier to the next. Or, as an example, when I ran this project, one of the suppliers was pickup only. And so it's about 2 hours from the house. I'm not driving up there to pick it up. It doesn't know whether I have to show up in the store or whether I can just ship it to the house or whether shipping's free. It has no context for any of these things. Even though the links work, like, it can't make that decision in a good way for every user. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, but it is a thing that hardware people have to pay attention to. The links work and gives you multiple options and gives you the ability, because it doesn't have that context, to make that decision for yourself and click the link and go buy it. The bad part, though, is that anytime you're dealing with a parts list, brevity is really, really important. If you've got 10 tabs open, it's so easy to get lost in what you purchased and what you need to purchase. If you're doing multiple quantities, it can get really confusing. And so brevity is really important. The UI of ChatGPT, specifically for the parts list itself, is the worst I have seen anywhere. The reason for that is because it gives ample space on all of these things. It gives a lot of information. The problem is you need that information super condensed and only the things that you need. And so we talked about this in the last video. If I've done my job, I know what I'm going to purchase. I need like a grocery list. I check off tomatoes, I check off potatoes, I check off, whatever else. It does a bad job because it includes too much of this ancillary information that's not helpful, it's not useful, and all it does is string the UI out into a way that makes it really difficult to digest and work through. You need check boxes like, okay, here's the things, go buy them, bought them, they're on the way, things like that. It does a terrible job at this. It's actually the worst. It's the worst of all the models. Let's put it that way. In terms of build instructions, though, so the good part about the build instructions is that space that is bad in part selection actually works for the benefit of build instructions, because if I'm building, I need space to read. I need white space so my eyes can focus, and I'm going back and forth between a screen and a project, and I'm walking through those steps. Having that space is really useful. And so you get one UI. It's always the same, and that's a lot of my problem with these models, is that the UI is not built for it. But here, in this instant, it works out a little bit better. The bad part about the build instructions, though, is specifically with ChatGPT 5.5, is that very little is dedicated to actually building. I gave it a specific prompt. I want instructions for how to build this, and what I got was a ton of software. There's going to be some software, if you're installing something on a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino, there's going to be code involved in almost every project, but very, very little of it was dedicated to building the hardware itself. It lacks things like tools. It did tell me that I needed a screwdriver, which is better than some other things that we've seen. There's also no document output. If you've ever bought anything online and you had it shipped to the house and you're putting it together, there's always an instruction book. Always. Now, some people have started putting these online. I personally hate that. I want an instruction book. If I'm building Legos, I still want the book. Now, Lego didn't have instructions when I was a kid. You just had to use your imagination. And that's kind of what you have to do here. If you're not beside a computer with the instructions pulled up on your browser, then good luck. In addition to that, all of these instructions are buried inside of the chat window. And so in order to get to them, I've got to navigate back to it, scroll all the way down, pull it up, and have it sitting right there. And now that may not be a big deal for everybody, but as I'm looking up at my browser here, I've got enough tabs open. I don't need another one. I want a physical copy. I may want to put that on another device, whether it's an iPad or a phone or, something else entirely. Making it only browser native, I think, is a problem. In my opinion, that's a bad thing. Between not giving any actual building instructions and also not providing documents, those are the bad parts of it. In general, I would say that ChatGPT does about a 50% job. It asks better questions. It's not as good as Grok 4.3 fast in terms of the process for getting to good parts. But once it gets there, it does a decent job of giving you options, and the UI will be a struggle for a while until they actually build this full hardware. It can kind of help you, but if your expectation is what you see on social media, that you can, knowing nothing, can log into something like ChatGPT 5.5, give it a prompt and tell it you want to build a thing. If it has any complexity, that is not realistic. That's it for ChatGPT 5.5. Thanks for watching. This has been Smoke Test. My name's Brandon. We'll see you next time.